Hello, people of the interwebs. It's your favorite shop-dwelling Sarah here with another car review. And today I have the all-new 2021 Acura TLX Type S. And on top of that, I have a lab coat down for a reason, because you are now getting more of what you have requested in these car reviews. Much like I have on my second channel, Give It the Beans, you're now gonna get an extended garage science portion. So the review is gonna be more mechanically focused and less about how big a cup holder is. So without further ado, let's get this thing up in the air. First up, real metal exhaust, no plastic crap back here. Like this gloss black rear diffuser also. And on this quad tip muffler, the inner tips have valves inside them for an active exhaust system. In contrast to your standard TLX model, the rear anti-sway bar has been stiffened by 31%, or which I have measured to be approximately 23 millimeters in diameter. Also, these braces right here were added for additional chassis rigidity. And obviously they put great effort into beefing up these anti-sway bar end lengths. I mean, look at the girth of this thing. I'm totally trolling you right now. That's for your auto leveling headlights. Your anti-sway bar end length right here is beefed up as well. The TLX Type S utilizes a multi-link style rear suspension. The upper links are made out of aluminum, while the lowers and the spring bucket are all made out of steel. Looking at the rear dampers, you can see there's these little packs mounted to the side of them. That's because this car has adaptive suspension. The rear knuckle is also aluminum, and you can see these rear axles, about as big around as my thumb, actually a little bigger around than my thumb. Thanks to Shoud, this rear differential, which was manufactured on 19 November 2020, because of the little date stamped right there that tells you that, is capable of transferring 70% of the torque to the rear wheels or torque vectoring it left to right up to 100%. I like the way that they engineered it into the center of the rear subframe, so there's actually dual bushings on either the front and the rear that hold this thing into place. One of my reviews wouldn't be complete without that slow panning underbody shot of the underside of the car. You can see there is a lot of plastic cladding on the either side of the vehicle, and then it's pretty much all exposed in the center around that exhaust system. The drive shaft is up above it though, above those heat shields. I'm happy that Acura used actual plastic down here instead of that felt covered cardboard nonsense that just gets torn when it gets caught on something that a lot of other manufacturers use. There's no rubber undercoating down here, but Acura definitely uses a ton of seam sealer everywhere, which should help with corrosion, although not every nook and cranny is filled in. Good job, Acura. This doesn't look like a total clusterfuck to work on. With the exception of this little guy right here, which is actually a vibration dampening system to remove vibrations from the engine and drivetrain. It's kind of weird. It may not look like it on camera, but take it from someone that's owned multiple Audis and somehow finds it fun to work on them. This is not bad. This is really not bad. Up front, there is a dual wishbone suspension, super beefy lower arm made out of aluminum. This thing is stout right here. There's only one transmission available with this Type S, and it is the in-house developed 10-speed automatic transmission, but special for this model is had a beefed up valve body as well as beefed up torque converter, hardened gear set, and a carbon nitride treatment to the two-way clutch assembly inside the gearbox. Before I do the braking test, I gotta mention this thing has the electro servo brake controller from the NSX, and what that does is it allows the car to vary the pedal feedback for the brake, which is kind of cool and high tech and nerdy. Anyway, let's see how these do. No one behind me? Ready? Ooh, Jesus! I just saw my life flash before my eyes. Oh yeah. Yeah, these brakes don't around. That was... That braking was accomplished because of a set of 4-pot Brembo calipers with a 14.3-inch front rotor. In front of them, though, is a optional set of 20x9 gloss gunmetal wheels, part of a performance package. They're not forged, so who knows how much they actually weigh. I should get a scale in here for that. Anyway, they're wrapped in a 255/35 Pirelli P0 tire. In the rear, there's just an adorable little single pot caliper. It's at least painted red to match the Brembo up front, and a 13-inch rotor. I'm surprised they didn't go with a little beefier brake in the rear because this thing does weigh 4,221 pounds. Also, square stance on the wheel and tire situation. In the name of science, it is now time to give it the beans. I have a dial here in the center, which is really nice actually. Is that metal? Possibly. It says dynamic mode. So you can turn that, and there's multiple settings that you can go through. You have comfort, normal, I love the sound effects, sport, you hear it kicks the idle up, I think to about 800 RPM, and then you can turn and hold it to Sport Plus, and that raises the idle up to 1000 RPM. Each different mode configures a bunch of other stuff in the vehicle as well, as you can see here on the screen. Just make it a lot easier, that way you can look at what it does. It does quite a bit of stuff for each different mode. So I turn off my traction control. I'm also gonna press the drive button again, which puts the transmission to sport mode, and let this thing eat. Ready? Go. There we go. Oh, that's good. That's good. Nice shove initially. This thing is so smooth. That's a lot faster than it felt. This is a deceiving car. It's fast, but it's so smooth. You feel the speed right away off the initial launch, but then it's just kind of like eases a little bit. It's so deceptive. It's so smooth. Pop. Are you a heavy hood or are you a light hood? You are a super light hood. That thing weighs almost nothing. Wow. Yep, I was expecting to see that. Big heat shield right here and some more foil tape on the underside of the hood because you wouldn't want to cook the paint off this thing having that turbo located where it is. Hello, this whole YouTube video is essentially garage science now. Anyway, under the hood of this Acura TLX Type S is the J30AC. It is a single turbo 3-liter V6 that produces 355 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 354 pound-feet of torque from 1,400 to 5,000 RPM. Look how beefy these front strut mounting locations are. It has this webbing that's just incorporated. Wow. That is rugged. It's incorporated into the sheet metal of this. I don't even want to call it sheet metal. That's stout. And also, if you look at the two front mounts for the struts, they're kind of cambered inward from the front wheels. So they're sitting at an angle like that. You can see you got a big front mount intercooler right here, and then that goes up into a nice squishy boot. This J30 is a dual overhead cam direct inject engine, and fun fact, it's an 86mm bore and stroke, kind of like the original FA20 that was in the first generation BRZ and Toyota 86. I high-key love the layout of this engine bay. The fact that they put that single twin scroll turbo mounted in the center of the valley of the V6. Super interesting engine layout. For those of you that aren't aware, this is a transversely mounted engine. What that means is the V6 has 3 cylinders right here in the front, 3 cylinders in the rear, so the V is oriented like that. And then you have your transmission situated right here, which the turbo is housed above. And there's just gotta be a mass of exhaust piping up underneath here because there has to be an up pipe, I would imagine, coming from either bank of cylinders to the turbo and then your downpipe coming out of it. Before I start off this drive, I'm sure there's one thing my OG subscribers are wondering if is gonna happen, and that's the bolstering test. And since I'm gonna start with the interior first, yes, it's gonna happen. Ready? Ooh, these are good. Good bolster. Comfortable seats too. So let's get this thing out on the road. Now, the first thing that stood out to me the week I had this car was just how solid and well built everything on the inside felt. I mean, there's no rattles or squeaks. There's not even any vibrations because it's got that crazy vibration resonance dampening system built into the front subframe on it. This is a car I feel 25 years from now will feel just as tight on the inside as the day you got it. That sounded like it had a double meaning to it. It has plenty of tech features in here to keep you happy. Lots of safety features. I like the center console right here. It reminds me a lot of the NSX when I drove that car, and that thing was absolute fire. So it's great when a car reminds you of that. The gauge cluster, it's vivid and bright colors. I like the red illumination on them. It's got the little SH all-wheel drive meter up on the display right now, and that's fun. The suede Alcantara in the center of the sweets, they are pretty sweet, is nice because it's got leather everywhere else, so your butt doesn't sweat sitting on that part. Outside of the car wise, I love the styling of this thing. It's gorgeous. This is one of those kind of work of art cars, I feel. You either get it or you don't get it. If you don't think this is a good looking car, then that's fine, but I think it's kind of like one of two ways. It's not really in the middle. It's just either, wow, that's gorgeous, or eh. Now, as far as the driving portion goes, obviously I'm not on a racetrack, so I can't huck this thing as hard as I can and actually have it in sport on the dynamic mode, because Sport Plus is what I want in the most aggressive setting. It is super aggressive, and that's how the most aggressive setting on a drive mode should be in a car. I want it to feel like it's just too much. Like, yeah, that's a bit extra. I don't need that right now. And I feel too many cars just kind of water down the drive modes. There's not really a big step in between them. It does have an individual mode, so you can configure it yourself. Even though this thing is 4,200 pounds, I don't really feel it in the corners, and I'm not pushing this thing to its limits, obviously, because I'm not on a track. But I feel where you feel the mass is just when you think about how much horsepower and torque this thing has, and the fact that it's all-wheel drive. Once it gets going, you're just kind of like, a little bit more. In my mind, I'm thinking of the Infiniti, because that Red Sport with 400 horsepower is what I want in acceleration out of this car. But comparing the two, I don't feel you can compare the two vehicles together. This feels so much better built than that car did. Total package deal, I think for the money, this is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of these, which makes it even more special. It comes in a wide variety of colors that I like, especially that goldish yellow orange. Love that color. It's just bright and in your face. And I don't know. I'm absolutely thrilled with this thing inside and out. Fuel economy wise, it's, for as big as the car is and the power and performance, not bad. Would I recommend it over its European competitors though, especially an Audi? This or an S4? That's tough. I don't know. I want to say yes. If you guys have never seen one of my car reviews before, I have multiple categories to rate and assess them, starting with the bean score. It is a rating of 1 to 5 beans based on the feeling you get in your belly button when you give it the beans. And this Acura TLX Type S is getting a rating of 2.1 out of 5 beans. This is kind of a work in progress. Eventually I want to get some little magnetic versions of my emojis for my ratings, but for now, we'll improvise. Anyway, it's quick. It's just the weight kind of masks its true feel of performance. I think if this car was a little lighter, or if it had around 400 horsepower, yeah, that would be magic right there. Next is the cookie score, is a rating of 1 to 5 cookies based on what you get for what you spend. It's the assessment of value. And the TLX Type S is getting a rating of, I think this is excellent value. I am absolutely impressed with what you get and just how it feels driving it for the price. This feels way more expensive than the mid-low $50,000 range. Next is the mechanic score, is an assessment of 1 to 5 wrenches based on how much of an ass pain a vehicle would be to work on it. 1 being an absolute abysmal nightmare, and 5 being the easiest vehicle in the world to maintain. And this car right here is getting a rating of 2.9 out of 5. It's a highly complex piece of machinery, but it is a Honda product after all, and I do think there was some thought that actually went into the design of this vehicle that makes maintaining it a little bit easier than you would think a vehicle like this would be. So yeah, not bad. Lastly though is the Penguin score, is assessment of how much I personally like a vehicle on a 1 to 5 Penguin scale, and this TLX Type S is getting a rating of 3.9 out of 5 Penguins. I like this car quite a bit. Love the way it looks, love the way it drives. It's just so solid feeling driving this car. I can't emphasize that enough. It just feels so well built. Probably one of the best build quality feels I've ever felt in a vehicle ever. So that is a big reason why I like the car. Some of the drawbacks though is just the weight of the car. I feel like it could be a little bit less heavy and a little smidge more power. If this thing was 400 horse, just like the Infiniti Q50 and Q60, yeah, that would be what's up. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this review, and I will see you soon with another. Bye!